What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 193 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. And speaking of friends, when you share it with your friends, try to encourage them to listen to it and make yourself available to talk to them about it. This episode's about thoughts, and we can all be that sounding board for the thoughts that people are holding on to and help steer each other in a better and more positive direction. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Power Over Your Mind. Welcome back to episode 193 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Power Over Your Mind. So today we're going to look at how we can get power over our mind, power over the thoughts that are bouncing around between our ears, power over the thoughts that are so loud they're speaking to us and their voices in our head. And so we're going to focus on what do you do when those negative thoughts creep up, when those negative words keep echoing in your mind. How do we gain power over those and not let them change our attitudes, our emotions, or our choices? And I'd like to start out with some lyrics from a song by Tommy Walker entitled When I Don't Know What to Do. And I chose this one because often our thoughts can go crazy when we're stuck in those situations that we really don't know what to do. So the first verse of that song says, when I don't know what to do, I'll lift up my hands. When I don't know what to say, I'll speak your praise. When I don't know where to go, I'll run to your throne. When I don't know what to think, I'll stand on your truth. When I don't know what to do. So in this song, and it was a worship song, Tommy Walker gives aspects of how do we lean on our faith when we don't know what to do, when we don't know what to say, when we don't know where to go, when we don't know what to think, when we just don't know what to do, when those choices are there, confusion sets in, and we end up often making bad choices. And for today's episode, I'm going to look at some quotes from the work Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And the first quote is, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. You got it? We find strength by finding our power over our mind and not always reacting to outside events. And so we do have the power to control what's going on inside of us, our thoughts and our attitudes. In doing so, we then control our reactions to what's going on outside of us and what's going on around us. So we can help get some of this power by practicing quiet reflection or contemplation or meditation. And this will help us grow in the power over our mind. So we could develop a habit of becoming mindful of what's going on, taking the time to process what's going on, think through it. And as we practice this type of mindfulness, we develop the ability to find an appropriate response in each of these situations. And an appropriate response to our thoughts when we don't know what to do. And that helps us gain power then over our thoughts before they run out of control. And a lack of this type of process tends to always leave us in a reactionary mode, where we just don't think at all. We react at the first thought that comes to our mind and hope we can make through whatever the results are. So this is a way to program your mind for success. You can focus on your beliefs and your truth, whatever your strong foundation is, to help keep your emotions in check and your thoughts in control. Our emotions surface as faithful response to situations when our belief foundation is strong. When our foundation is weak or hurting, our emotions become reactionary, and our thoughts run wild, stay negative, often turn to hopelessness and despair and depression. So can you see the importance then of figuring out what your foundation is? Where can you turn to? Where can you run to when you don't know what to do? The second quote by Marcus Aurelius says, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." So with this idea of quality, I want to ask some questions. Do you have a sense of purpose? Do you have a meaning in life? Do you have meaningful relationships? Your answers will reveal the quality of your thoughts and the source of your foundations. When you think of your life right now, do you have a sense of well-being? Or are you always feeling uneasy and uncomfortable and unsecure or unsafe? You see, happiness comes from within, and a lot of that comes with being comfortable in our own skin, comfortable in our situation. And this happiness can manifest due to external events, and it's not a negative thing if the source of our happiness lies within, and the manifestation is just a natural thing to good relationships and good situations. So I think the key would be, do you enjoy your own company? Would you choose yourself if you were looking for a friend? Do you have that happiness inside of you? American journalist and author Hunter Thompson once said, "I don't see how you can respect yourself if you must look in the hearts and minds of others for your happiness." Sure, you got that. I don't see how you can respect yourself if you must look in the hearts and minds of others for your happiness. Can you see the importance of having the foundation of liking yourself and respecting yourself in gaining power over your thoughts? So that's how we can gain the power, but how do we deal with these unwanted thoughts? When that negative voice becomes an intruder in our mind. Because these voices, if we leave them unchecked, can warp the very truth that we're trying to find, or the very truth that we have inside of us. And once that happens, those intruder voices really start to outright lie to us. We begin to hear things that were never said and believe they were. When we look at people and just assume they're saying negative things about us, and we take offense when none was ever intended. And when I think of these sort of intrusive voices and intrusive thoughts, it reminds me of that obnoxious person who always intrudes on you to talk about crazy things or to convince you about their views on life, politics, faith, whatever. And what stirs inside of me and what can stir inside of others is, how do we get away from this? Or we can end up in a debate with this person, but I want to say, don't fight it. Because when we fight that obnoxious person or that obnoxious intrusive voice inside our head, the voice will only get more obnoxious, louder, and push back harder. So we need to realize that we sort of need to leave it alone. And I like the quote by English writer, speaker, and philosopher Alan Wilson Watts, who said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." So can you hear that? Sometimes if we get caught up in the muddy water being stirred, we get caught up in the voices and the obnoxious talk, it's never going to settle. We just get embroiled and we start swallowing some of that muddy water ourselves. And I like the quote by Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she said, "When a thoughtless or unkind word is spoken, best tune it out. You got that? It's best to tune out the thoughtless or unkind words that are spoken to us, at us, about us. So we need to practice tuning out intrusive negative thoughts and voices by focusing on something else around you or on your own positive thoughts. Can you begin to visualize positive things? Can you start every day or just today by saying things like, I'm going to focus on my recovery, being able to affect all my friends and family? Can you hear the power in that? That our recovery can positively affect all of our friends and family, and I'm going to focus on that. I'm not going to hold on to the thoughts of my addiction affected all my friends and family. I'm so ashamed and guilt-ridden. So a good way to tune out things that need to be tuned out is to stay grounded. And I don't just mean that grounded on our foundation that we talked about earlier, but physically grounded in what's around you, and that can remind you to get back to your foundational thinking. So if you hear these intrusive voices or there's that obnoxious voice right in front of you, I want to encourage you to physically touch a chair or a wall. Slowly move your feet on the solid ground where you're standing or sitting. Our sense of touch keeps us aware of what is real around us when we're facing unwanted intruders. So that's an easy little sort of practice or trick that you can do to help keep you grounded rather than getting caught up in the muddy water of these intrusive voices. And remember, if the voices are between your ears, they're those thoughts that seem to be talking inside your head, your choice is different from your voice. So begin, when those voices speak up, to speak positive things into existence. Things like, I will not overthink this situation. I will not worry. I will not stress. I will rest in the truth. And my final quote from Marcus Aurelius for today says, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. You got that? Our thoughts can get so deeply that they are the dye that colors our very soul. And some of us may look like a crazy tie-dyed shirt from all the things that have dyed our soul, because our thoughts have the power to color who we are. They can be a huge factor in who we become. If we hang on to negative or toxic thoughts, they change our moods, and as a result, we can become a negative or toxic person. So we need to gain control, gain power over our mind. And in closing, I just want to say, you can't build the future you want if your thoughts are always drawn back to the negativity of the past that you lost. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you were saying, wow, that really touched me, I need to work on gaining power over my mind, then I want to encourage you to practice some of those things and also reach out and join a group. Get connected with people you can share your thoughts with. If you can't find a group, message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com, or go to my website www.fromatod.org and click on the contact page. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.